This is CBC Late Night News.
Good evening. Hurricane Dorian unleashed a direct hit on the northern Bahamas tonight. It is now a Category 5 storm described as catastrophic, destroying homes and buildings in its path. While people on that Caribbean island continue to suffer, there are many here watching the events closely and nervously. Magda Gabriel-Selassie has that story.
Crushing waves and winds at more than 300 kilometers an hour at times. The hurricane has hit the Abaco Islands of the Bahamas, leaving a path of destruction and despair.
Everyone pray for us, please. Please pray for us.
The storm hit this area early Sunday, flooding homes and ripping roofs right off. Meanwhile, in other parts of the Bahamas, they were still preparing for what's to come.
We anticipate that in the next 6 to 8 hours, we should be feeling some severe effects of that storm as it approaches us here.
Meanwhile, here in Canada, attempts to contact people in the hardest hit areas go unanswered.
Caulfield.
Samantha Mafood is trying to contact the principal of Every Child Counts, a school for students with special needs. Mafood's organization, Food for the Poor, helps to support the programs there.
I visited Abaco a few years ago, and it was such a small island. I'm thinking that the winds, the rain, the waves, it's going to be destroyed. It's going to be, it's going to need a lot of help in response to the hurricane. It's going to be devastating.
She says the students were supposed to start school tomorrow, which is very unlikely now.
Hoping that everybody's safe and has taken enough precaution that they'll stay safe.
She says her organization will be ready to help residents rebuild once the storm passes.
We've put together a point-of-use water purification system.
Also ready to step in and help is Global Medic. Tonight, its teams remain on standby.
These include, field hospital teams, these include shelter teams, these include our drone teams, our water purification teams. If the folks in the Bahamas need our help, we'll deploy.
Magda Gabriel-Selassie, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, Dorian is forecast to come dangerously close to Florida. That state is bracing for the storm, and it could start feeling the effects of the hurricane as early as tomorrow. CBC's David Common is there, where people are getting ready.
It may look like a beach paradise right now, but Sean Wiedeber is preparing for tomorrow, gathering sand in grocery bags to keep surging storm water out of his home.
I'll put them my back door by the pool and in the front door, and
try to stop any of that water from getting in.
We did about 2 years ago, and it helped with the water.
How many of these bags do you have to do?
I'll probably do about 100.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. You got a lot of work ahead of you.
I got a lot of work ahead.
Better leave you to it. Across Florida, the final push to protect is on. The eye of Dorian may not make landfall here, but even a side swipe could be devastating. The storm advancing slowly, giving it time to pummel buildings.
Just preparation's key. As long as you got the supplies that you need and just help people out when they need it, and that's pretty much it. Joe, don't panic, yeah. That's pretty much it.
Now, trailer parks are often those most at risk because there's no foundations. This one has largely been abandoned. Many people have just got out, moved inland. This guy here has not only put up the corrugated metal on top of the windows, but he's actually strapped down the whole roof in the hopes that it won't blow away. Many have seen all this before, previous storms etched into repeatedly used plywood. But where and how and when exactly Dorian will bring it isn't exact, making it a challenge for coastal Floridians to decide whether to stay or go.
They keep changing the track, and it's just hard to tell, so we just want to be ready.
In fact, hurricane projections are wrong about a third of the time. Though, as it gets closer, there is greater certainty.
One thing that's happening is we are noticing that the wind field is expanding. It's getting stronger. The wind field is expanding, which is not a good combination. Absolutely life-threatening, devastating.
Among the property owners of Florida is the president himself, whose Mar-a-Lago resort is in the path of hurricane-strength winds, and who today spoke of Dorian's sheer size.
I'm not sure that I've ever even heard of a Category 5. I knew it existed. and I've seen some Category 4s. You don't even see them that much, but a Category 5 is something that I don't know that I've ever even heard the term.
Of course, the term has been used, including just last year, right here in Florida, for a Cat 5, Hurricane Michael. Once again, Floridians getting ready tonight for another storm. David Common, CBC News, Palm Beach, Florida.
So given that it is a very active storm situation still tonight, let's check in with Leanna McLean for a sense of what we've got for the latest, Leanna.
Well, the catastrophic Category 5 storm has made landfall as of 11 p.m. Eastern Time in the eastern Grand Bahama Island. So this is a look at our radar reflectivity over the last 3 hours. Even though this has made landfall in the Bahamas, northwest Bahamas, we still see the outer bands bringing some scattered thunderstorms to places like West Palm Beach. This is a look at the satellite imagery as well. Wind speeds of over 290 kilometers per hour. Now, when it made landfall over eastern Grand Bahama, it had maximum sustained winds up to about 300 kilometers per hour. This is catastrophic, and storm surge levels are possible between 18 to 23 feet above normal tide levels. This is absolutely dangerous. And this is a look at the Dorian satellite imagery, 3D imagery. I wanted to note that the inner eye wall has actually maintained the same sort of structure throughout the entire trajectory of this storm, and it may go through an eye wall replacement cycle, which means it could become a little bit more disorganized over the coming days. This is a look at our forecast track. It is expected to maintain its major hurricane status, which is Category 3 or higher, over the coming days, and we're closely watching the Carolinas. This for Wednesday into late Thursday for the potential of a landfall here.
Still so much more to go. We'll check back with you in a few. Thanks, Leanna.
Thanks.
Police are asking for the public's help after a fatal shooting outside a Mississauga restaurant. While patrons ate inside the popular late-night diner, a man was shot and killed in the parking lot. And as Angelina King tells us, it's the second fatal shooting in what's been a violent weekend in Peel Region.
More than 40 evidence markers litter the parking lot of Wally's restaurant in Mississauga as Peel police search for clues in the region's 16th homicide this year. Around 2:30 this morning, 24-year-old Kyle Clouden of Mississauga was found suffering from a gunshot wound. He died on scene.
So there were several patrons inside of the restaurant that our investigators are speaking to or have already spoken to, and we're working and trying to corroborate all of their witness statements so we can get an accurate description of our suspect.
But no suspect information has been released. Police want to see any dash cam or surveillance video of the area taken between 2 and 3 a.m. Those who live beside the crime scene say they're shocked this happened in an otherwise quiet area.
Next time when I walk from this side, I'll definitely get scared walking through this road.
I'm surprised, because I live here for quite a while. It's the first time that this happens.
Yeah, it was scary because it's shooting.
This is the second fatal shooting in Peel Region in 2 days. Yesterday morning, 39-year-old Dwayne Williams was shot and killed in Brampton. A few hours earlier, a man was rushed to hospital with life-threatening injuries after being shot on the second floor of a Mississauga hotel during a robbery. No arrests have been made. Neighborhood Watch Brampton says this violence is concerning residents. Although Fazell Khan says crime in Brampton isn't as bad as people think, he's afraid it's getting worse.
It's just a matter of time.
He says the region needs a multi-pronged approach to combat gun violence.
We need opportunities for young people. We need more jobs. We need educational opportunities.
Last year in Peel Region, there were 53 shootings, 10 of them fatal. So far this year, there have been 46 shootings, killing 5 people. This police tape will likely stay up for a couple more days while investigators remain on scene. Police say they want to ensure they talk to all potential witnesses and gather as much video from the area as possible. And because it's a long weekend, that could take a little bit longer. Angelina King, CBC News, Mississauga.
A baby is dead and 4 others are injured after an early morning fire in Gatineau. Firefighters responded to a vehicle fire just before 2 a.m. Saturday. When they arrived, a nearby duplex was also on fire. Gatineau police said they were able to help the 5 residents out of the building and they were taken to hospital. A 3-month-old baby boy was initially in critical condition but later pronounced dead. Investigators are working to determine the cause of the fire. And just north of Gatineau, a motorcyclist is dead after colliding with a lawn tractor in Cantley this morning. Local police say the crash happened around 10 a.m. on a road running through the Mount Cascade golf course. The 47-year-old motorcyclist was killed, and the driver of the tractor, a 56-year-old man, was taken to hospital with serious injuries. An investigation is underway. And police are appealing for witnesses after a hit-and-run in Scarborough killed a pedestrian on Friday night.
Her family's devastated. We're looking for answers. The family's looking for answers. The family's looking for closure.
Police Traffic Services is conducting a further investigation into the death of the 35-year-old woman. Police say the collision happened at 10:30 p.m. in the eastbound lanes of Shepherd Avenue East near Abbotsford Gate Lane. Police say the woman was crossing the street before she was hit. Paramedics pronounced her dead at the scene. Police are asking anyone with information, including dash cam footage, to contact them. Toronto police say offensive graffiti written on a sign in an Etobicoke park is being investigated as a possible hate crime. A man walking a dog in Dennis Flynn Park discovered the anti-Muslim graffiti this morning. He says he called the city as soon as he saw it, then blocked out the offensive words. Mayor John Tory says the graffiti is, quote, abhorrent and an example of religious hatred that must absolutely be condemned. A new glass-enclosed pedestrian bridge spanning nearly 40 meters is being installed over Bay Street this long weekend. The pedestrian bridge is a steel-framed structure and is being lifted into place in 2 phases over the course of 2 weekends. The bridge will eventually allow GO Bus riders to connect between Scotiabank Arena and the new Union Station bus terminal. The new terminal will provide improved access to the Gardiner Expressway, Lakeshore Boulevard and Union Station, as well as easier connections to the TTC and Up Express. Well, it's the end of an era for the last of the TTC's bendy streetcars. 2 old streetcars with the bend in the middle of the connecting cars will ride for the last time on Monday. They're being retired to make way for a more modernized streetcar fleet. Torontonians will be allowed to ride for free from 2 to 5 p.m. along Queen Street on Labor Day before they go out of service for good. Well, the CNE Air Show in full swing today. The annual air show is a big draw, and this year it's celebrating its 70th anniversary, featuring the Red Arrows and the iconic Canadian Forces Snowbirds. The air show runs until tomorrow, which is also the last day for the CNE. A sweeping overhaul of Canada's Labour Code went into effect today. The new rules are meant to make for a better work-life balance, but critics say they may harm some federally regulated industries. The details coming up. Police in Texas today raised the number of dead in the latest U.S. mass shooting to 7. We're also learning more about the gunman's rampage, but not his identity, at least for now.
I'm not naming this subject, and there's a reason for that. I refuse to. I'm not going to give him any notoriety for what he did.
The shootings began after police pulled over a man in a car for a traffic violation. He sped off, firing randomly with an assault rifle during a 30-kilometer chase to another city. A 17-month-old toddler was among 22 people hurt. Police eventually shot and killed the gunman in a parking lot after evacuating a nearby mall. They are still investigating a motive, but have ruled out terrorism. Hong Kong's anti-government protests targeted transport today, blockading roads and public transit lines. Avenues leading to the airport couldn't be passed, trains were suspended, and passengers wound up getting to their flights on foot. There was also vandalism. It all came after violent clashes with police overnight. Observers believe Beijing wants the movement stopped by next month, when it marks the 70th anniversary of the People's Republic. Well, just in time for Labor Day, there's a new set of labor regulations in effect in Canadian workplaces after affecting almost 1 million people. But some businesses aren't happy, and some aren't sure if the new rules will apply to them or not. CBC's Talia Ricci reports.
On the eve of Labor Day parades across the country, a new set of rules for employers in federally regulated businesses and industries.
It's overdue for a tweaking and a revision.
These federal labor standards affect around 18,000 employers and more than 900,000 employees across the country in industries like transportation, grain handling, banking, and broadcasting, including the CBC. Some of the notable revisions include a new personal leave of up to 5 days, a leave for victims of family violence of up to 10 days, new breaks and rest periods, and the chance for flexible work arrangements.
These are designed to make the working conditions better and certainly to make for a better work-life balance.
But the Canadian Federation of Independent Business says the regulations are confusing and just don't work for jobs that fall outside the typical 9-to-5 day, like trucking. It's calling on the government to slow down the whole process.
There's a laundry list of businesses, including some with small and medium-sized companies involved, that are going to have to try to accommodate a whole confusing mess of new changes.
Exemptions will be allowed. WestJet says it's looking for one, but many companies are unclear on whether they qualify.
They want certainty. They want to understand what they're expected to do.
In a statement, the Minister of Labor says, "We recognize that not all workplaces are alike, and in May 2019 began consultations on new regulations that will exempt certain classes of employees from the new hours of work provisions. These regulations will be in place in 2020. Until then," she said, "the old rules apply to some classes of employees."
This is, I think, an attempt by the Liberal Party to portray itself as a friend of working people, a friend of middle-class Canadians.
New rules just in time for Labor Day and weeks before a federal election. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
As the CNE winds down, we decided to take a look at a company that helps it run. North American Midway Entertainment is trying to change the reputation of the old Carney. Their team includes a lot of young adults that they say have a positive attitude towards their job and the people they serve. They get to see the world, make new friends, and save some money. Our video producer Richard Ajekute met some of them today.
You guys can come on up. Go ahead, jump in right there. You two as well, right? Sit on the side. My name is Nico Yonk. I work for the Crazy Mouse roller coaster for North American Midway in Canada. Everything about this ride is cool. It spins, it's got loops, it jumps up and down. It's awesome. I think working in this environment it's fun all the time. It's a great experience for anybody looking to travel and meet new people. I think it's a wonderful experience.
Well, you know, I started in 1977, you know, and I guess that there was kind of a connotation of what a carnival worker was in North America. And I guess that we're trying to somewhat improve that mold or even change that mold a little bit as time goes along, and we're chipping away at it every day by providing great customer service, really good employees.
One of the things that North American Midway has truly done is brought that image right away from the traditional carny to a very professional, well-dressed, well-appointed, well-spoken individual.
Can I just say absolutely? Good. I'm Marina from Pletsen. I'm from South Africa, Western Cape, Plettenberg Bay. So we started in June. We were in Calgary. I love the horses and just the scenery. Then we went to Winnipeg, and then we are now in Toronto, where we went to Niagara Falls. That was like the best thing I've ever seen. So it's really, really good. And now we're going to London next week.
You know, this is a really exciting landscape to work in, and they're traveling with a whole bunch of people that are their age. And so it makes the camaraderie of being in this, makes it kind of like a family atmosphere.
With all the money we made, we're going back home, take a long vacation, and then we're going to study. I'm going to study hairdressing.
Well, it was a tough day at the ballpark for the Toronto Blue Jays fans, although they did get to witness history.
3-2. Ground ball. Toro has it. A no-hitter for Justin Verlander, his third career no-hitter.
Yep, as you heard, Houston Astros pitcher Justin Verlander threw a no-hitter against the Jays today, the third of his career and the second he's thrown against the Blue Jays. His only blemish today, a walk issued in the first inning. Verlander is only the third pitcher ever to record a no-hitter against the same team twice. He is also now one of only 6 pitchers in the history of Major League Baseball to throw at least 3 no-nos. Too bad it had to go against us. All right, let's check in once again with Leanna McLean for a sense of, you know, where Dorian's at, but also a look at our forecast into the week.
For sure. We do have that Category 5 catastrophic storm that has actually just made landfall as of 11 p.m. Eastern time on the eastern Bahama Island. Now, we are going to watch this track right up the southeast U.S. coast. Now, NHC, the National Hurricane Center, has actually not directly said that this could make a landfall on the southeast U.S. coast, but it's going to bring impacts in terms of storm surge, strong winds, and very heavy rainfall. So we'll play out the rainfall outlook for you. We've already had Jacksonville issue a local state of emergency. We have school closures in effect for Tuesday and Wednesday, and mandatory evacuations. Over 100 millimeters of rain associated with this. Now closer back at home, Monday morning, 17 degrees with some showers in the forecast here. We could be feeling closer to the 30-degree mark with the humidity factored in. So if you weren't a big fan of today's cool weather, we could be warming back up. We do have special weather statements in effect from Prince Edward County up towards the St. Lawrence River Valley for some heavy rain, 30 to 50 millimeters here. But by the time we get to about 8 to 9 a.m. local time, we're mostly in the clear here. We do have the risk of thunderstorms, just non-severe in nature, heavy rain and strong winds, definitely the primary threat here. And we do have about 15 to 20 millimeters of rain in the forecast for those areas highlighted in green. Non-severe risk returns for Tuesday, but it depends on the timing of the cold front, because we could get into the possibility of some severe weather, and then conditions look to cool right back down.
All right, thanks, Leanna.
Thank you.
Well, every year as Toronto's pool season draws to a close, the city allows our canine residents to go for a dip in some pools. And so that's what we're going to leave you with tonight. Here's Oakley enjoying a dip at Stanley Park Outdoor Pool. Hope your night's as great as Oakley's day looks like it was. Good night, everyone.